Hello and welcome. It's time for episode 33 of the Magnus Protocol Peer Review. Our case number here is CAT 2RB 2365-140-81996-2005-2024. Transformation Pier Fear Void. Okay, so we have a lot to talk about with this one. So first off, our statement is from the research lead for location CD771, the Manchester site of the Magnus Institute. Now, I tried to do some digging for CD771. I found some sound wave stuff, but I couldn't find anything specific for what this might be referencing in. But I also could have missed the reference. So if you know it, or if somebody figures it out, please let me know, because I definitely think there's something important about that. And obviously there's also the side thing of there's 771 sites or more. Okay. Also, the interviewer comments have been redacted at the request of Dr. Welling. Now, the redacting is already one thing. I'm a big SCP fan, so sure, absolutely. But the fact that Dr. Welling has requested it, Dr. Welling has come up a couple times. He was mentioned in Protocol 21 of the first season by Kennings as the one that was behind the Dome project, and that Welling wouldn't listen to what Kennings had to say about how it wasn't going to be hope and fear, it was just going to be fear. And then also in Protocol 28, when Sam gives his statement about what happened to him at the Institute when he took a test as a kid, it is Dr. Welling's office where the old man is in the middle of a ritual and Sam interrupts him and the yellow light enters his body and his skeleton bursts out from within him, right? Dr. Welling, kind of an important person, kind of an important name to remember. Regardless, this is the statement of Victoria Marcario and her date, James Dawn. This statement is so good. So there's a lot going on here, and this feels almost like an archive statement, right? During this, I was trying to go, well, is this the vast? Is this the buried? Is this the stranger? Is this the extinction? And we'll get into all that, but they're on a pier, on a date, and then suddenly they can't see the lights of the city anymore. There's a fog, a dark fog that's rolled in. And the man that is standing in front of the door that says, well, don't you two make a darling pair? As if he's never said those words before. But also, we're going to find out he says them again. The woman that just smiles. It just smiles. And all I could think about was, I think it's Archives 156, the extinction and the ruined carnival, right? The fairground, I guess. That was 100% where my brain went with this. But also, there's a mention of a caricaturist, right? An author, an artist that does caricatures of people, and they go to try to find this person. There's an arcade, and things are going weird in the arcade. There is a Ferris wheel that is empty and roped off. The man is there again, different door, same man, same words. They can't see the land at all anymore. And this is when she figures out the shadow is not fog. Also, this has nothing to do with the fear of the situation. It does humanize the characters a little bit, but just Victoria pretending to be a velociraptor and chasing James down the pier. That's a fun thing. And it made me feel worse for these people. That's good writing. So James tries to act like nothing's wrong. He desperately begs her to tell him it's okay. And that could be because of the fear, right? That could be because he just needs to know it's okay before they die. I don't think that's what it is. I think it's that James is begging her to say it's okay because as long as they're having fun on the pier and everything's fine, that thing that's standing above the pier that is so vast and so big that its shadow is overflowing onto the pier, that thing won't kill them. That's my theory. Because he's begging her to not run, to say it's okay, to stay with him and tell him it's okay. The woman before, where her clothes got messed up, she's smiling, everything's fine. The man at the door just, don't you two make a, how was the wording? A darling pair. Everyone is desperately trying to be happy. My first thought was, oh, well, this is a stranger situation and these aren't really people. But I don't think that's what it is. I think they are desperately trying to pretend like everything's okay because this giant creature wipes the slate clean whenever someone isn't happy on the pier. Into the Blackpool Pier, by the way. I don't think I remembered to write that down in my notes, but that's what it is. Also, really interesting here, the interviewer, when James tries to act like everything's okay, the interviewer says something that, of course, is redacted that Victoria doesn't understand. And then, whenever she gets away and she hears James screaming behind her, she's telling this to the interviewer. She tells him that she filed a missing persons report, and then she says, please don't go. Let me get the exact wording here because I still have the transcript, and I think this is important. She says, please don't go. And I don't know if that means this thing is hunting her, or if it means that she's not okay after this, that she can't be alone. And I say that because those are the words that James used to her when he said, please don't go. We're having such a lovely time. There's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong. And so I wonder if this has like infected her, right? Of either she can't be alone because she's terrified of what will happen, or please don't go. Everything's fine. Nothing's wrong. You know, really, really interesting stuff. What is that thing, right? Is it a combination of the fears? A lot of people still have that theory, right? That the fears have merged or been alchemically merged into something else. Is it a combination of the vast and the extinction and the stranger, right? Or of the dark and the buried, right? Or is it whatever aspect of them has been fractured off, which is still my ongoing theory. That ding was my food, by the way. But that's still my ongoing theory of it is a fractured version of the fears, and it's down to the little pieces of them. And is this one, I don't know, the fear of giant creatures, the fear of giant things underwater, thalassophobia, thalassophobia. I really struggle to get that one out. Or is it the fear of not being happy? Is it a combination of fractured fears? It's really hard to say, but this one I was so excited for. This, especially because it starts with a mention of Dr. Welling and the Magnus Institute, but also just they're looking into, and this is something that I think is going to get passed over in the process of people looking into this themselves and being like, oh, what fear is it? The Institute is looking into these things. Now, we know they were because of Albertus Magnus and the carriage, right, that he was trying to study. But they're trying to gather more information on these creatures that dwell in fear. And they're hiding all the information on the way. It's textbook SCP Foundation, textbook alchemy, right? Historical alchemy. Alchemists of today might be more open with their stuff, but historical alchemy has been very secretive. It's so cool. Love this. The first half of this was amazing, and it only gets better as we go. So, from there, personally, real quick, I think this is an aspect of the extinction, right? It is the fear of what remains after everything is empty, the fear of the sorrow that remains whenever everything is gone, and the deep desire to be happy again, right? But that's just me. The overwhelming shadow of death and of the end, and so it could be an end statement, but of, you know, the what's the word I'm looking for here? The inevitability of destruction and trying to pretend that that's not what's going on, the entropy of the universe, right? Not to get too deep here, but I think that's what this aspect is. And that's just my ongoing theory. We'll find out later that I'm probably wrong, I'm sure. But for now, that's what I'm going with. That this giant shape is actually the inevitable end of joy. Which is more philosophical than I mean it to be, but you know. So Alice finds Colin's notebook, and inside there are computer codes, words in German, and also ciphers. And the mix of these three is making it where Alice can't understand. She can't understand any one individually, but the three together make it almost impossible to understand. And again, that's very historical alchemy, right? Writing your stuff in code, writing your stuff in ciphers, writing it in a different language, trying to make it harder for people to understand. There's something there, is all I'm saying. And then we get Lars Brett from Starkwall. So, a couple quick things. Gwen is trying to get in touch with Lena. The code for the OIAR is 5399752. I feel like that's going to be important, so I made sure to write it down. But Lars Brett has an appointment with Gwen because he's trying to get Starkwall back on the payroll. He wants Starkwall to be working with the OIAR again. And we find out over the course of this conversation that Lena had broken off the contract with Starkwall because she was using the externals. And Lars Brett tried to tell her then that was a bad idea. He still thinks it's a bad idea now. And he thinks they need more security. And he points it out in a really solid way of like, hey, I walked right in here, basically. You need more security. But Gwen refuses to accept she could ever be wrong. And in this case, might not be a bad idea because Brett is giving off very, very dangerous vibes, right? It's really interesting, too, because I think he's either the first or maybe the second American character that we've heard. His accent is kind of hard to place. There were definitely a couple tinges that made me think he might be from, like, middle region, like Iowa, maybe, but he could be closer to, like, a Tennessee and just northern Tennessee or something like that. Maybe even, like, a southern Michigan, like, lower peninsula. But he definitely was missing some of the things, so I'm curious to see where I'm probably very wrong on his accent, but it was interesting to hear an American accent on the show. But he's definitely shady. The way that he talks, the way that he's very, yeah, you pointed out a problem with our company, it's okay, everything's fine. We're going to work through this together. In fact, I think you could really use our help. And to the point of, it's fine that you turned us down, I'm going to give you my card. When you decide that you need our help again, you just call and we'll set up some kind of demonstration, okay? And that parting shot of his, when he says, I never realized how big this office was when Lena was in here, and Freddy chirps to be like, hey, that's a lie. Clearly implying that Gwen is not filling the role, she's not filling the office, she doesn't have an intimidating presence, she's faltering, right? And it is dangerous to me that he knows that. Gwen's best strength in the OIAR right now is making it seem like everything's okay and nothing's going wrong. And the fact that Brett is able to pick that out, that's a problem, right? That needs to not happen. I think we are veering very close to a conflict between the externals and Starkwall. And I think it's going to be very interesting if, say, like, Bonzo shows up to the office and Gwen has to call Starkwall. I'm also not putting it past the idea that Starkwall has bugged the place because they hired Teddy pretty soon after he left the OIR. And so I'm not 100% sure they don't already have bugs in there. It seems maybe the meeting was scheduled and Gwen just forgot, right? Maybe it was. But also maybe Starkwall heard what happened to Colin and heard them talking about what happened to Sam and decided this was a good chance to go try to, get paid again. We'll see. This was a really, really fun statement. And I feel like I'm not going as long on this as I normally would, but I don't really know what else really to say. I'm very interested in seeing what happens with Starkwall. I'm very interested in seeing what goes on with Alice in the notebook, what things she's able to determine from Colin's notebook. But also, the fact that Gwen's trying to get in contact, I tried to put those words together, with Lena, says that she's realizing how overloaded she is, and she's trying to ask for help. But she's not trying to let everybody else know that she's asked for help. At the start of the episode, while Celia is doing her case, Gwen and Alice have another argument, so it's possible that Gwen is trying to get in contact with Lena because of that argument and realizing she needs help now, but doesn't want to admit to Alice that she needed help, so she's doing it on her own. It could be a couple different things. One last thing I wanted to bring up too, just from the statement, with the pier, it isn't that the shadow was under the pier the whole time, even though there are definitely times where like the waves are coming up and the spray is hitting Victoria, right? It was already out there, looming, as if it was watching. And that's partly why I think it might be that specific fear. Like a child watching over its action figures or its toys or its dolls, right? And when they stop doing what they're supposed to do, it breaks the whole thing. Or like a kid playing with Legos that has put together a big thing, and when they tire of it, they just smash it, you know? Because it was already there. It rose up and waited. And then it drew ever closer. And I think there's something to that. I'm curious if we're going to see the idea of pretending to be happy come up again. Either way, this was a really, really cool episode. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Hopefully all the tinniness is gone now from the mic. We got a lot of it gone, but I'm hoping that it's all gone now. And yeah, you know, hopefully you enjoy Old Gods of Appalachia coming up, and Malevolent will be going up this week, and hopefully the first episode's review, hopefully you enjoy those too. Again, if there's another horror series you'd like to see me cover, let me know. We're gonna get through the 3 we got right now, but after that I'm super open. I love talking about series and stuff like this, episode by episode, even if it's not a horror series. If there's another series that you think is really cool, especially stuff that's like on YouTube and is put out for free, I love to do this with. And some people will hear that and go, oh, well, you just don't want to pay for stuff. No, I'm not afraid of that. Like, I love Warhammer, and I'm getting the Warhammer books, you know? But, like, I love talking about stuff that isn't corporate and that is, like, driven by the desire to make cool art. And I love being able to put more eyes on it. Now, granted, Magnus is way more popular than I am, right? I'm not putting eyes on Magnus, but there could be other people that have never heard of Old Gods of Appalachia, but love Magnus, or have never heard of Malevolent, you know? Or, like, when I did that review for Subotai Must Be Destroyed, maybe you've never heard of that series, but you love horror. Check it out, you know? I love talking about this stuff, so I'm gonna go eat my food. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below, and until next time, I've been Trey. This has been The Full Spectrum. Remember to always enjoy the full spectrum that Magnus has to offer.